Thank you all for coming. First of all, we're so glad you're here. We'll call to order the Town of Lake Lure Town Council regular meeting Tuesday, October the 10th at 5 p.m. We will begin by a pledge of allegiance
And
invocation.
All right, please stand for invocation. Father God, we thank you for the blessing of another beautiful day, the advent of autumn, and all the grandeur that it provides us. Thank you for our emergency services personnel and all the hard work that they do. As this busy fall season approaches, let all those that visit our beautiful area be met with safety as they enter and leave our area, and give our personnel the discernment and the strength to carry through this busy season. In this evening's proceedings, provide our council discernment as we deliberate and make decisions that can affect the future of our town, both now and for generations to come. We thank you for your grace, your mercy, and thank you for the dignity of another day. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, once again, welcome. We're glad you're here as always. It doesn't look to be as long a meeting as it has been sometimes, so sometimes. David may start talking, so we don't know what that might be.
I know that was a positive comment. Yeah.
It was.
Oh, yeah.
It absolutely was. So, just want to, once again, thank everybody. We are, and Patrick alluded to it, for our first responders and emergency staff in the town. And just want to bring up how, really fortunate we are to have the fire department that we have, and the emergency services department within their department too, and our police.
You're here.
Yes. And all the staff here. And so we are really so well supported, all of us. And I think sometimes we get busy and don't really realize what a part they play in our lives. Particularly just always being ready. And one of the things that we are looking at now is, and trying to see how we may find something that may be helpful to them. Most of our fire department and police department and many of our staff here just don't live in Lake Lure, because there's really nothing that works for them here in Lake Lure. So it's something, so they come a long way, and they come willingly, and they're always there when we need them. And I think sometimes it's hard to remember that. So as we move forward with this, we're trying to make sure that we're doing everything we can for them, to make sure that it is as easy for them as possible to continue to giving us the wonderful service that they do in Lake Lure. So I just want to say thank you to all of them. All right, we're going to move on then to, I skipped it already, the agenda adoption. So are there any edits to the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. We do have one agenda item to add to the list this evening. That is a material that was sent out yesterday to council for consideration. That was getting guidance on which term we're going to be pursuing with our power purchase agreement with Duke Energy.
And we will be adding that then,
J.
J.
New business.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion, we add the Duke Energy Power Agreement to item J under new business this evening.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any other additions, edits? Then do I hear a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
We just did.
Oh, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, so, yeah,
Okay.
yes, yeah, that
All right.
completes
All right,
the
that's
agenda
it
with the
then.
addition, yeah.
All right, we will then move on to the town manager's communications.
Okay. All right, we'll start with public services. As everybody knows, we talked about it a little bit at our last meeting. The big highlight for public services, they successfully dealt with the Labor Day sewer issue on the lake. That was a repair done to manhole 11, and that was completed. And that was producing about 100 to 150,000 gallons a day in leakage to the water plant, the wastewater plant, and that was the highlight of theirs for their report. Community development, they had 34 permits for the month of September as compared to 39 for August. That consisted of 7 for zoning, 4 for lake structure, 3 for land disturbance, and 4 for vacation rental operators. Moving forward into fire and emergency response, they had 43 fire, medical, and rescue calls throughout the month and completed 307 hours of training for the month. For the police, they had 36.5 hours of lake patrol. They also reported that most of their officers have now completed their yearly classes and testing for their in-service training requirements. And then lastly, they talked about their officers are busy preparing for their yearly firearms qualifications, which will take place in mid-October. For Parks and Recreation and Lake, they, in addition to all of the time they spent maintaining the various trails, they did open a trail up, the Up and Boulder Trail at Buffalo Creek Park. We had a ribbon cutting at the end of September on the 30th for it. We had the Carolina Climbers Coalition help out with that. They gave their contribution, and all the work they did, it consisted for about 158 and a half volunteer hours out of 6 of those folks. For a total for the month, they had 284.5 volunteer hours, and they value this time at $5,690. For finance, the town continued to sustain its strong financial position with an unreconciled bank balance of approximately $11,012,986.59 on all funds, other than the special revenue funds or the DAM fund, which still holds a balance of $16.5 million, as well as accumulated interest of $320,568.56, for a total balance of $16,820,568.58. The North Carolina Department of Transportation also approved their funding once again for the 2023 State Aid to Municipalities Highway Fund, or in ancient times called the Powell Bill. And then for communications, we had 46 news articles published on the town's website, and 2,015 copies of these were sent by various people by hyperlink. The website had 15,704 visitors in September, representing a 29% increase over the same time last year. The town had 20,061 followers on Facebook as of September 2023. This represents a 7% increase of 1,336 over September of 2022. And I think that's about the first time that the Facebook following has gone over 20,000. And then lastly, under admin reports for it, we continue on the space needs study for the fire department with ADW Architects. The architects are going to get together probably in the next 2 weeks and start review times with the fire department personnel and myself about their findings. They're doing test fits on a future fire department location as we speak. And then they also completed we also completed an application for an asset inventory study for the town's water system. And that's it.
Thank you very much. A lot going on. Kind of changes a little bit, doesn't it, after the season is over and we sort of get down to the more normal stuff, which is nice sometimes. We will then move on to the council liaison reports and comments.
Yes,
Commissioner
ma'am.
Doster?
Thank you. The ABC board met September 18th. As of that meeting, they need 1 person. So if anybody's interested, check with the manager. We did have our final audit from the State ABC Commission. It was a very, very positive audit for the first time in a long time. They were very, very thrilled with what they saw. I don't mean to make that sound like it was bad to start with, but our sales are down just a little bit, but season is slowing down. However, mixed beverage sales, which is restaurant sales, were up. And a lot of that sometimes has to do with that Labor Day bump, as they say. I did fill in for Commissioner Diorio and the Lake Advisory Board. Really nothing outstanding. Water samples were great. There is a fishing forum tomorrow night right here at 6 o'clock. So I think that ought to be kind of neat if you're interested in what goes on the lake, some of the new regulations, some of the things for fishermen. So if you want to, please show up for that. And that's all I have.
All right.
And Commissioner Diorio filled in for me for zoning and planning. So
Then I will refer to Commissioner Bureau.
Zoning and planning, normal business for zoning and planning. We did take a look at the potential and a need that they will take up arms for, which is really taking a look at a lot of the property that the town owns around town and take a look at the zoning for it, potential uses for it. Can't do it all at once. There's like, how many properties are there around town? Mr. Town Manager, a lot, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so, but I think what they want to do is take a look at a little bit at a time and chew on it a little bit so we can take advantage of some of that. Some of it's waterfront property, which I was surprised, and, so I think we'll see more of that in the future.
I do, and I think that sort of meshes with our looking at it now as we start looking at the town owns some properties for sometimes no discernible reasons. Nobody's here, maybe Jim probably knows.
Yeah.
But other than that, nobody knows why the town inherited them, but it could be just like, a lot here or a lot there, or just individual lots, or there may be parcels of land, for whatever reason that the town inherited them, or people decided they didn't wanna own them or not. And so we're really taking a look at all of them and trying to decide what could they be utilized for. So it's a good timing too with the zoning and planning as we're talking about, some, other possible ways to use some of these properties. So I think that's always good.
For the Board of Adjustments, they did meet, and there's one thing, we're seeing a trend here, so I won't give you the specifics, because that's Board of Adjustment business. But we're seeing an interesting trend worth getting in the record so everyone can understand. And there's kind of a little bit of a misinformation out there about grandfathered setbacks in the town of Lake Lure. If you buy a home, say it was built in the 40s and the 50s, and it sits in a particular area, and it doesn't meet the zoning setback standards, regulations that we have for today, it's grandfathered in, meaning you can take down the house, as long as you keep the foundation, you can rebuild and keep those original setbacks, even if it's over the lake. You cannot build a new apartment or livable space over the lake, but the ones that are there today can be grandfathered in, if you don't disturb the foundation, okay? So a lot of people are getting ahead of themselves, tearing things down, pulling out the foundation. If you pull out the original foundation and the verification of what those setbacks were, all bets are off. And that is creating a lot of problems. The second thing is, some of those old foundations may not be on your property, okay, because of a survey, a missurvey or something like that. Well, there's no grandfathering in for encroaching on other people's personal property. So those are two things that are of interest. And anytime if you see a question of that comes up, don't try to answer it yourself. Lead them to our community development folks before they even think about doing something, if it's a neighbor of yours, and get an answer before they start building. A lot of these folks are into it halfway, spend lots of money, and find out they have a problem, which is not good. Anyway, that concludes my report.
You were a busy board member.
Yep.
So, I sat in on the Parks and Recs board for, Commissioner Proctor, because he was unable to, and a lot of what went on at the Parks and Recs board meeting, actually Hank has already told you when it came from the Parks and Recs report. But just a couple of the highlights. This was held on October the 5th, 2023. A couple of things that came up. First of all, our new AmeriCorps member, Maddie, and I'm sorry I can't remember her last name. Everybody know it? Anyway, she volunteers for us, and she's doing a fantastic job. Delightful young woman. So that's really, really nice. Bartosh, thank you. Mobay asked about a continuing item of interest for all of us who live in Lake Lure about bear-proof trash cans. Because there are bears out there who would like to eat your trash. I will tell you that I've lived here now since 2011, and I have a probably Rubbermaid trash can that just flips up, and no bear has ever gotten in it. So not sure the bear-proof trash can is actually the only answer to it. But Laura, we have had we talked about this, we have had a presentation a couple of years ago that we did. Dean actually did it. We got the people in from Raleigh, and we may consider doing that again. The biggest item or issue probably is trash. And so the issue did come up about short-term rentals and people not putting their trash away appropriately. So we're gonna look into all of those things, as well as get some information about the very durable, supposedly bear-proof trash cans that you can get if you want to, but they're not cheap, I will tell you that. Mr. Dittmer brought up about the Dittmer Watts Nature Trail Park. The school had Lake Lure Classical Academy had a school country meet there today, and they are making good use of the trails, which is a very good thing. It's getting a lot of use by the students. There will be a trail work day next Tuesday. Maddie the AmeriCorps noted there were not any issues. As far as, and Hank already talked about that, the Buffalo Creek Weed Mansion and Trail to Eagle Rock. I was there. It was really, really nice. There were over 40 people there, which was just amazing. The good thing about it was all ages. There were children there and all ages people and people from everywhere. So it was really probably the best attended that we've had from a ribbon cutting so far. And 30 of the 40, I was in that 10, in between 30 and 40 who didn't, hiked all the way up the trail. Well, Hank being one of them. So a lot of interest there. You could climb the boulders if you wanted to too. So it's just really nice that we're taking advantage of the fact that we're making so many of the properties that we have, make them utilized for our youth, for our residents in Lake Lure. There was a question brought up about the town's liability if someone had an accident while climbing. And that is gonna be looked into, okay? The Carolina climbers inspect and maintain the anchors. So theoretically, we should be in good shape, but we are gonna look into that. The Lake Lure Flowering Bridge, MoBay, said that they have accumulated $155,000 in donations for the education center, which is near their goal. So that is giving them great hope that they'll be able to move forward with that. There is a seasonal wreath class on the 24th at 10 a.m. if anybody would like to attend that. And then the discussion was about the dance festival that was held in Morse Park. And Laura Creedy mentioned she was there and she got positive feedback from everyone who was there. Mo did bring up that she also attended and there were not as many attendees as there have been in the past. So they want to evaluate that moving forward. And last, there was some discussion, it was brought up, where are we with the master planning for the green space, or have we moved forward with that? And Hank explained that he has, as he talked about it, they are in process with working with someone to determine where would be the best place for the fire department to be. And so that master plan is beginning, and so we'll let everyone know when that's finished. And the last question was, Mo asked if the town is still planning to move the gas pumps from where it is located now to the other side. And so, yes, we are still planning to do that. That probably won't happen this year. But that still would be very good for us, both from a logistical standpoint and also from an environmental standpoint, to move it to the other side. And that's all for Parks and Recs. And they'll be glad you're back, I'm sure, Jim. So I think that's everything. Once again, we thank everybody who's on the advisory boards because you certainly add a lot of expertise, and we're just very lucky in Lake Lure to have so many people who are able to contribute their time and really have a wealth of knowledge on all these different boards. So we will move on then to public comment, and we do have one person signed up for public comment. Just one, if anyone wants to make a public comment and did not sign up, if you'll just wait till this Deborah Gardner finishes, then you're certainly willing, we're certainly willing for you to come up. Please state your name and your address when you do. Deborah.
Hello all. This time I will remember to state my name and my address. It is Deborah Gardner, 137 Firefly Cove. I want to thank the town for considering and responding to my requests made at last month's meeting. However, I want to state that I was extremely disappointed in the decision made by the town manager and department heads not to publish active contracts on the town's website. Even though I was told that I could request a copy of any contract, I feel that the town's unwillingness to make them easily accessible is forecasting a lack of transparency. To this end, I've requested a copy of all active contracts, including addendums and revisions, except for those relating to the dam and the sewer project, and greatly appreciate Olivia's response to my request. She's gathering it all and is going to give it to me by the end of the week.
Sorry, apologies.
On another note, there's been much discussion about keeping the beach open off-season, but allegedly due to too many calls to the police department to get people out of the lake from swimming, it was decided not to keep it open. I don't understand why this is the responsibility of the Lake Lure Police and not the responsibility of the person or organization that has the contract for the beach. They've got the contract, they're responsible for everything else, they should be responsible for policing it. As well as beaches up and down the coast, off-season, post a sign that there is no lifeguard on duty and state no swimming or swimming at your own risk. Why is this okay for all the beaches up and down North Carolina and South Carolina, but it's not okay for Lake Lure? Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else, did you want to?
I'm Ronnie Wood. I live here in Lake Lure, 355 Shady Grove. I've got a problem with the building inspectors for Lake Lure. I do a lot of work here on the lake, 45 years, and never had a problem. They're saying that I need a permit for a boat lift, said it was structural. And boat lift is not structural. It ain't holding up the boathouse, it's holding up a boat. And he said that we got into the wiring, which the homeowner put in a switch with a boat lift. Did not touch the wiring, the outlet's a plug-in. You know, everybody's fixed a lamp for their wife, you know, you don't get a permit for that. And I replaced one rotten post on the boathouse. He seen it across the lake. Came over and was real, I mean, he just wasn't professional. And it's been 3 weeks. I've called, the homeowner's called, we ain't heard nothing from him. Carpenter. He's a new guy. I don't know why you need so many. Used to, you'd walk into the town hall, get a permit, you go straight to Ralston, get their permit, and you're back on the job by 12. This has been 3 weeks come Thursday, and he ain't returned our call or nothing. I mean, that's ridiculous. This boy does not need to be paid by Lake Lure. So,
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, and I will tell you, we truly do need all the people we have in community development though,
He's
because we
running
have
a lot
so
of 'em.
much going on here.
he's
They are-
running people out of town carpenters, and we ain't got that many carpenters. They're having to come from out of town to do carpenter work. And I've been doing it 45 years, never had this problem. Ralston County, William Lattimore and them told me almost 30 years ago, you do not need a permit for a boat lift. And I put in 25 or more since then,
Okay.
and never had a permit. And now he comes up saying it's structural, and it ain't.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Mike.
Ronnie.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment? Well, thank you. We always appreciate public comments, and we're glad that you're here to participate. Remember that if you cannot be at a meeting, but you would like to make a public comment, you may email your comment to Olivia as long as it's an hour before the meeting starts, and it will be included in the minutes of the meeting. So sometimes you can't make it here, but you can still do it that way, just to let you know. We will move on to the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor, make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented, item 7.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And the consent agenda is unanimously approved. We have no unfinished business, so it means we were very efficient, I guess, at our last meeting. We'll move on then to our new business. The first item is ordinance number 23-10-10A, amending Chapter 30, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 3, Parking Violations Enforcement, Section 30-62, Parking and Use of Electric Vehicle Charging Stations of the Town of Lake Lure Court of Ordinances. It's a mouthful, isn't it? I will defer to you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. This was an item that was discussed at a work session. The vehicle charging locations are currently signed with 2-hour limitations for parking. That is not backed up in the ordinance or a time limitation for that. So it originally came from the police department to be able to put something in the ordinance that gave to the limited time parking for those charging locations in Morse Park's parking lot. During this time, we also considered whether or not two hours was enough time. At our work session, we settled on that 4 hours was a more appropriate time, so that was written into the, I guess, the code amendments that we have before you this evening for consideration and your approval. And this will actually be establishing a 4-hour limit and then being able to enforce that in the event someone is there after that 4-hour limit is over.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Perkins about that? I think we discussed this at length at a working meeting. Do I hear a motion then?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion, we approve ordinance number 23-10-10A, amending chapter 30, article 3, section 30-62 of the Town of Lake Lure Code of Ordinances, parking and use of electric vehicle charging stations.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Then ordinance number 23-10-10A, amending chapter 30, traffic and vehicles, article 3, parking violations enforcement, section 30-62, parking use of electric vehicles, charging stations of the Town of Lake Lure Code of Ordinances is approved unanimously. It's a mouthful. All right, we will move on to item B, resolution number 23-10-10, authorizing town council to take action at work session meetings.
Yes, ma'am. This is another item that was discussed at the last work session. At that time, it was brought up and discussed that due to the nature of the large projects that we've got for infrastructure and other things going on with Lake Lure, we've had an increasing amount of need to call special call meetings to address things that cannot wait between, for the next regular town council meeting to get there. So what we have before you this evening is a resolution stating that we're going to convert what has been our titled work session on the fourth Wednesday of the month, and then add the words action to that as well, so that we have the opportunity to take action at that meeting. The discussion at the time we had this at our work session was that our regular meeting is still our primary opportunity to get the work of the town done for the people of Lake Lure. But we do know that a lot of things come up before this meeting, and to be able to have yet another meeting that is regularly scheduled on the books for the Town of Lake Lure, in which we can also have an opportunity to take action in, will decrease our amount of, our need to call for in-between meetings of a special nature. So the resolution that you have before you this evening, if approved, would basically reinforce the council's desire to change the work session to an action meeting as well. It would be titled Work Session and Action Meeting, and then from there on, we would move forward. I would imagine we're gonna have a discussion about having a public comment period at that meeting as well. And then we'll work through the logistics on how we report at the regular meetings on things that were approved at the work session meeting.
Perfect.
Okay.
Do we need to amend the motion to include the public comment section, or?
I don't think so.
That's arbitrarily
Yeah,
done,
we
yes.
can go ahead and set that up as a part of the agenda.
Yeah, the state statute, we have to do it once a month. But if we do it, especially for doing decision-making, we can,
Included on any meeting.
Well,
we have.
our rules and procedure book says regular meetings, which is what become a regular meeting, you have a
Yeah,
public comment.
well, it is a regular meeting, but I think if the rules and procedures needs to be amended, we can take care of that as well.
No, I'm saying it already says that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
oh, okay, good.
Yeah, because there are folks that, there are people that come to that meeting, because it's a morning,
Yeah.
that like to make public comment, and I
Yeah.
think it's prudent for us to do that
Yeah,
too, so.
Sure.
And there are, and it's come up before, question about having it at 8:30 in the morning, and a lot of people couldn't be here because they're at work, but I think really in the town of Lake Lure, I don't think they're, either people's schedules, if they work from Lake Lure, are more flexible than that. We haven't seen it as a deterrent for people who actually want to be here. It's no worse than having it at 5 o'clock at night, to be honest with you. So, but
I think it is a bonus to have public comment opportunity each month, morning and evening.
I agree.
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
absolutely.
I agree. So, our goal is to try to make, as always, everything as transparent as possible and get as much communication and interaction from the public as we can. So, alrighty then, do I hear a motion for that?
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 23-10-10, authorizing town council to take action at work session meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Then resolution number 23-10-10, authorizing town council to take action at work session meetings, passes unanimously. We'll move on to the next, which is Lake Lure Tours off-season beach schedule request. I'll defer to you, Mr. Perkins.
Okay. This is another item we discussed at our work session. For the past couple of years, Lake Lure Tours had submitted prior to Labor Day a request not to open the beach location up for non-supervised access for walking and the like. They didn't do that this time through just an error and omission for their own, they're just forgetting about it. So the beach did, when it was brought to our attention after a meeting here by public comment, we did talk to Lake Lure Tours, and they did open the beach, and it has been open since probably a week late from that time. And upon doing that, Lake Lure Tours then has submitted almost the same day another request to shut the beach down for this access. So we have this before the council for consideration today. It's in your packet. It would basically be closed down on Labor Day and then stay closed until Memorial Day weekend for it. Their request is non-specific to dates, and my recommendation for council is that we have granted a request the past 2 years on an annual basis. We've had a third request from Lake Lure Tours that the council consider doing something longer than just another 12 months, if that be 2 years or 3 years for it. But we're going to go through a long time of having drawdown periods. We were non-specific to dates on this because of the wanting to hold out the ability to go for multiple years in it, because in the future, we do not know when the dates of the drawdown are going to be. So the requests are going to be floating with the drawdown periods and whenever they are. So that's before the request before council this evening.
So, can we discuss it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, as a discussion point, and getting back to Deborah's point here, so, I think it's worth just kind of re-going through the thought process here. So, Lake Lure Police Department has done a number of calls for people in distress, trying to get into the lake or doing something near that area where it's very muddy, especially when the lake comes down. And a number of times they've had to go over there to pull people out. And so when we looked at this before, we kind of looked at it from a safety issue, certainly, public safety issue. But secondarily, and one thing that I think makes us different than a beach is the town of Lake Lure owns the lake. So we're liable if something were to happen in the lake. I'm not so sure that's the case.
Why would the people who have the contract be responsible? Why
Because we-
our police go out?
No, that's a good question, because they are executing a public service on the beach. They don't take ownership of the beach. We still own the beach.
Public service could be them policing it, or them responding to calls, or.
No,
Yeah, but-
she misunderstood. The
Oh.
police are doing public service.
Right. Yeah, the police are responsible for the public safety in the town of Lake Lure, including the beach area. It's not a contractual requirement for them to do that, and it'd be an additional cost. And so, we have our own police, and that's why. Why, I guess the answer then would be, why would we want to tap into the funds received for concessions and everything else that they do for a public safety requirement in the contract when we have the police force to do that?
The liability,
There be an additional charge for that service.
the liability,
Because it's
Deborah,
overall
is
cost.
huge. And we can put 1,000 signs across the front of that lake with chains and ropes and everything else, and there will still be people that will go in that lake. And so the point of it is just, let's just mitigate it right out of the gate. Let's just not, and I get it, I could see that would be kind of nice, people can walk around out there, whatever, but it's just, I think it's too much for us to, and these guys are busy enough, and, the last thing we need to do is to have a lawsuit where someone's drowned out there because even though we have the signs, I just think it's too much for us to do.
The thing that crossed the line was drawing down of the lake, and that people think they can go out there and find things in the lake bed, and it's gonna get worse. We go down 20 feet, people are gonna wanna go explore 8 to 10 feet of back shore that was never there, never uncovered in 100 years. And
there was somebody out there with a,
metal detector, yeah.
Sure.
So we're trying to discourage that. That's gonna end up being a problem. We did, Carl, you may remember this. We had somebody stuck out there, right, or sinking?
Up to her waist.
Yep.
What's that?
They'll get out there and they'll get in that soft mud,
Yeah,
and then they can't get back out.
Yeah.
It happened to a mother and child. The child got stuck, the mother went out, she got stuck, and I think the fire department had to respond.
They did,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
they did. And I think y'all remember too, though it was in Chimney Rock when the young man dove into the Broad River there. I mean, one of the problem is we have a lot of children, which is wonderful, who visit Lake Lure, but children are not always use the best judgment, to be honest with you, and kind of ignore signs that say you can't swim and things like that. So it is our responsibility.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate. What's the difference in the beach and all the shoreline on Morris Park?
or the other side where the, boat dock is, where the police boat dock is and all that, by the ABC store.
Yeah.
Anybody could walk in there, the old ABC store, anybody could walk into the beach, from so many different locations.
I think in that scenario, Commissioner Proctor, you have a combination of assets that are both privately owned and owned by the town. So you have assets owned by Lake Lure Tours, the water slides and their equipment, picnic tables and all those things on that area, where town property is solely our proprietary aspect. And if another concession agreement comes along, the water slides do not belong to the town. Those are Lake Lure Tours property, so you have this combination of private assets and government assets that are enclosed in that beach area specific. I think is really the only delineating factor that I could give to that argument, yeah. Because people they have gone down the slides dry, I've
That was
watched
the
it.
other part too.
Yeah.
We've spent a lot of time talking about the fact that they walk by a no swimming sign that's 20 feet in front of them as they open the gate, and then they get in the water. We have had them go down the slides and climb underneath the chain that has been closing those slides and go down the slides anyway. And I believe the manager for, I think it was Ms. Sonia, said that she, I may be mistaken on this, I'm kind of convinced that she had told us that they've seen people trying to climb up on the lifeguard stands.
They do.
So it's not only getting in the water and getting in the mud, but it's not respecting where they're not supposed to be to begin with.
So this came up a couple of years, it comes up every now, it's come up a couple of years. Safety is the whole issue. I mean, that was the reason the police department, they just, we don't have enough manpower to station people out there 24/7 to make sure that nobody is endangering themselves. So that,
Yeah, Mayor, I know this is out of order, but that's never stopped me before, I'm sorry. What I'm reading here, though, does not preclude, or it also precludes any special events on the beach. This closes the beach, so Lake Lure Tours can't do their weddings out there, they can't do their bonfires out there. Miss Ledford got married out there last week on the beach.
well, that's not what the person said.
It's actually a good point.
It was the previous one.
Well, so it's, so if I may, unsupervised public access, so the Lake Lure Tours has a concession agreement, they have to pay for access use of the beach, and they have supervised staff during those specific events. So, paragraph 1,
It doesn't cover that in 1, 2, or 3.
yes, it would need to be amended for paragraph 1 to be included as part of the nomenclature for the articles of agreement. In my,
But
yeah,
you're referring to the letter that was submitted?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which that may read differently from the actual
It
concession
does,
agreement.
the actual concession references
Right.
that.
Mhm.
The concession agreement does reference
It
that
does.
in
It
specific
does.
for supervised events on the beach.
Right.
In the off-season.
I would
yes.
say that we can take a look at the concession agreement to see if there's any inconsistencies that need to be addressed, but I would hate to venture any kind of opinion on this without getting back and reading the concession agreement itself.
As I
Sure.
recall, it's mentioned, but yeah, we
Right.
do need to look at it.
Mhm.
Do we still wanna go ahead with this proposal, or do we wanna
Say
say
we just wait, table it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to table this until our next
Regular meeting.
regular meeting.
Our next It's work session and action meeting.
Good point,
session.
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, thank you.
All right, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
All right,
Aye.
Then, the Lake Lures All-Season Beach schedule request is tabled until our next regular session. We'll then move on to item number D, it's the third amendment to the Pangea Services Agreement. Hank, once again, I'll defer to you.
Yes, ma'am. This is a 5-year extension on the existing agreement that is 1 year into a 5-year agreement. So I believe without having to look at it again, if approved this evening, Pangea's agreement with the town of Lake Lure would go out through 2032. What they're agreeing to in this is that they would be supplying fiber internet to our community development locations in our wastewater treatment plants, and another extension out to the work trailer for Morgan Corporation as they do the drain valve installation. In exchange for this, we will pay the one-time fees for the physical extension of these services itself, but we would receive in kind the free internet monthly services to all of the existing services that we have at the town of Lake Lure, plus the additional locations that I've just talked about. So that's what we're looking at this evening.
We talked about this.
We did.
Yes, it was a work session.
You guys are all happy with the service, and
I am
they've
too.
been doing a great job.
And at the last meeting, manager, you mentioned the amount of money that we
Yeah,
save in kind.
I didn't write that one down,
Was it-
but it
it
was in the
was-
thousands of dollars
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
would
I
get,
don't think I
because
wrote it
even
down
if we
either.
estimated $150 a month, that's
Yeah.
avoided for these two locations for, not just the 5-year extension, but also the 4 years left on the current extension.
Right.
It adds up to a lot of money in savings.
Jim, you want-
Plus the $3,000 in itself was a whole lot less than what they wanted me to pay to get the same thing at my place.
I do remember that.
So I think it's a pretty good deal.
I agree.
And there are no other internet providers that would offer us the same contract
That's always
negotiation deal
important.
under any
I agree.
circumstance right now.
Do I hear a motion?
I move that we approve the third amendment to Pangea Services Agreement.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Then the third amendment to Pangea Services Agreements passes unanimously. We'll move on then to item E, which is ordinance number 23-10-10B, adopting the 2023 Water Shortage Response Plan. I'll defer to you, Mr. Perkins.
All right, I'm gonna also recognize Mr. Dean Lindsay, our Public Services Director. The summary that you got in your meeting packet says it best. The Case Environmental has assisted the town in drafting the 2023 Water Shortage Response Plan. That's what you have before you this evening for consideration. The North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality requires that the town adopt an ordinance establishing procedures and measures for the essential conservation of water resources and the prescribing of certain penalties. This is an annual, if not, I don't know what the frequency is. Dean, how many years?
3 or 5 years. but
Okay.
it just, says we're following a response plan
Right.
for our water system.
So this is an agreement that or an ordinance we've had in the past. This is an update and a part of a periodic and regular update that council has to approve.
Gotcha.
Any questions? Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to adopt ordinance number 23-10-10B, adopting the 2023 Water Shortage Response Plan.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then ordinance number 23-10-10B, adopting the 2023 Water Shortage Response Plan is adopted unanimously. We'll move on then to item F, resolution number 23-10-10A, setting guidelines for administrative approvals for project change orders. And I will once again defer to you, Mr. Perkins.
Yes, ma'am. Again, at our work session, we discussed with our project manager, Mr. Michael Didula. We've got a multi-million-dollar contract with the Morgan Corporation for the installation of the valves themselves. We anticipate that during the construction project, there will be change orders that happen with it. We have a contingency in our capital reserve of, I think it's $1 million total for being able to handle unexpected things. Our conversation at the work session talked about the need not to hold the project down with the approvals of the change orders for the project as it moves forward. So in keeping with our discussion at the work session, the resolution that you have before you this evening says that the manager is authorized, working with the project manager and other staff, to authorize and execute change orders in less than $100,000 for it, until such time that $1 million in reserves is exceeded. And at that point, we have to get back with council on it. And then I'm always going to come back every time we do this. I believe it was to say, if there was a change order exceeding $100,000, notification would be given to the town council. The way we'll end up doing this is in the ways that contingency appropriations have to be done for notifications. The very next regular meeting that we have with the town council, I will have this as a regular part of my updates for the town council itself. So not only will we let you know when those change orders exceeding $100,000 happen, but we will also report those at regular meetings moving forward.
Any questions? Questions, discussion? Do I hear a motion then for resolution number 23-10-10B?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2310, TAC 10A, setting guidelines for administrative approvals for project change orders.
I'll
Second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And resolution number 23-10-10A, setting guidelines for administrative approvals for project change orders, passes unanimously. We'll move on then to item G, resolution number 23-10-10B, accepting state revolving loan offer of $7 million. Mr. Perkins.
Yes, we discussed this at our work session as well. The state of North Carolina has approved another state revolving loan fund for our subaqueous sewer project of $7 million. This is in addition to the $12.5 million subaqueous state revolving loan funds that have already been approved, and in addition to the $8 million in ARPA funds that we have. In order of operation, because this is the last approval, this $7 million will be starting to be expended after the ARPA money has been expended and after the $12.5 million in funds have been as well. The highlights of this, as we discussed it, were that the interest rate on this is 0% interest, so it's principal payments only in the future. And we were able to confirm that the $7 million that has been offered to us is at a 30-year term, just like the $12.5 million. So our recommendation this evening is for the town council to adopt the resolution, thereby accepting the $7 million in state revolving loan funds.
Any questions? We discussed this pretty
Yeah,
thoroughly.
we did.
Do I hear a
I
motion?
move that we adopt resolution number 2310, TAC 10B, accepting state revolving loan offer of $7 million.
I'll second the motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And resolution number 23-10-10B, accepting state revolving loan offer of $7 million is accepted unanimously. We'll move on then to item H, which is budget amendment number 356 for HVAC unit replacement for the police department. Mr. Perkins?
Okay, we had a good laugh about this one. During our budget deliberations moving into the current fiscal year budget we have right now, it was noted that the last 2 or 3 years in a row, we've been carrying $20,000 for the HVAC system for the police department, and it's always hung in there. So we made a thing to take it out this year, and then we'll address if it conks out. And lo and behold, it conked out.
Of course.
Yes, so the budget amendment then would have been to get in and to go ahead and pay for the replacement of the HVAC unit for the police department.
Any discussion, questions?
Make a motion to approve the budget amendment number 356 for HVAC unit replacement for the police department.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
And budget amendment number 356 for HVAC unit replacement for the police department is unanimously approved.
Never
Well,
fails.
Yeah, it did. I knew it was gonna happen.
Should've known.
Keep us on our toes, right, all right,
Yeah.
so, item number I, budget amendment number 357 for manhole number 11, emergency repair, and Mr. Ford. Or Mr. Lindsay, one of the two, you're listed on the paper, Mr. Ford.
I'm gonna let Mr. Lee.
All right, there you go, he's deferring to you. We already discussed that.
Yeah, this is for the, where we had
had to drop the lake level down. That was the total cost of the repairs to replace the manhole with the standpipe. So we got all the repairs complete, and this was the total price, what we got the change out. The only thing left on the job is we will be rebuilding the seawall, when the lake goes down.
So does any of this fall on that property owner?
The seawall was built so long ago, we don't have any records, but it was built on top of the lateral leading down to the center of the lake. But that's what we believe, just the weight of it caused cracked the bottom of the manhole,
So-
creating
So-
unlimited flow into the system.
So this $28,000 is not gonna cover, I assume, the rebuilding of the seawall?
Yes.
Oh, it is going to?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Well, one of the things I would like to do before we get into this, setting a precedent for reconstructing seawalls, I think it's probably our responsibility to build a seawall that is structurally sound, but not aesthetically sound. So we probably ought to approach the property owner to say, this is what we're gonna give you for a seawall, but if you wanna do $10,000 worth of stonework to match it or whatever, that they have some skin in the game. And I don't know if there's how we could set that as a protocol, but do you see what I'm?
Yeah, I
getting
do.
at?
I mean, they're being given a very basic bone cinder block seawall.
Oh, okay.
Right, that's
Okay.
all that's being offered.
There's nothing, it was stacked stone and
Okay.
the concrete,
Okay,
once we cleared the lateral, we left the existing wall, but when it will go back, it will not go on top of the lateral, it will go around it.
Yeah.
Just so we're just worried about basic
The
erosion
linear-
control.
The linear footage of this thing is minimal as well.
Yes.
okay. No,
Yes.
that's good. I think that's good. But we owe them to say, by the way, your seawall's gonna be rebuilt, okay? This is what it's gonna look like. Now is your opportunity to work with us if they want something different. I don't think it's right to have it be a surprise of what they're gonna get at the end. So
Yes.
where it's gonna go, what it's gonna look like, I think we just need to have that dialogue, and you may have already had that with.
Yes, it is just a basic replacement, and, to my knowledge, it's gonna be cinder block.
Yep.
And then they can work with, I think it's a Airbnb, but, we can talk with the landowner, or
Yeah,
the
of
homeowner,
course.
that if they wanna make it more aesthetically pleasing,
Yep.
then they can work with the contractor.
That's on
Yeah.
them, yeah.
In conjunction with community development.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Nope, that answers my
Yes.
question.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh,
So just let me,
Yeah.
I'm stating the obvious though, I just want y'all to make sure you're aware, this will become out of the water
Sewer fund equity.
That's-
fund balance,
right.
you know,
Not general.
not the general fund
Right.
balance.
Okay. Why is that? Just because?
Well, that's one that we're watching, that balance that we're watching with all the projects and everything. I just wanted to, I know that was the obvious, I apologize if that sounded like I was, I just
No,
wanted to make
that-
sure that it didn't come out of the general fund balance.
Okay.
Since we move around fund balances
Yeah,
all
yeah,
the
yeah.
time,
Right.
just want to make sure, because that's just something that that I personally keep my eye on, because
Well, I
all
mean,
the projects dealing with.
it does bring up well, here's the big question, which you probably got figured out. The big question is, when somebody builds a seawall on top of a town utility and breaks it, all right? If the taxpayer is responsible for a portion of it, is it just the taxpayers that use the sewer system, or is it all the taxpayers in the town of Lake Lure?
Yeah, that wasn't my point. My point was that it was
Yeah.
coming out of water sewer. That's the one that we're keeping an eye on because of all the projects.
Right. But that's my
It-
point.
it-
But you see, the only people that pay out of that fund are sewer people.
Yeah, okay.
That's my point.
Right, okay.
So you're taking it out of a fund that only the people that use the sewer in the Lake Lure. I'm not saying it's wrong or right.
Right.
I'm just consciously trying to think, who should be responsible
Well-
for that? Granted, it was 30 or 40 years ago,
Yeah.
but who should be
Well,
responsible?
Is
for
it-
the
I think
rebuilding
probably
of the
what the 28,000 that we're talking about is
Yeah.
is not the seawall by itself, it's the
Combined.
it's the standpipe and the repair
Yeah.
lines itself.
Yep.
So I think I see your operation as far as where you're going to it,
Yeah.
as a mix between the repair to the sewer system and the repair to the seawall.
Right. Right.
But I'm not sure what kind of premium the seawall added to the 28.
My question is why are we fixing the seawall anyway? I mean,
Just,
I get
it's-
the fact that it's old and it caved in, it crushed the pipe, we gotta fix the pipe, we gotta make that right. but that seawall still belongs to that homeowner, that property owner. And it fell. So if the seawall wasn't, if the pipe wasn't under it, if it was 3 houses down and the wall fell, we wouldn't be fixing that wall. The only reason we're fixing this one is because we were right there when it affected our
Yes, we
pipe.
had to remove it. So
Yeah, so
we,
it
To
really
get
didn't
to the
fall.
work.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
didn't fall on it, we had to remove it.
My mistake. I thought it caved in on the pipe.
well, there's just the weight of it over time caused the pipe to separate from the bottom of the manhole.
Okay, and then
But
we took it down so we
had
could
to
fix the
remove
pipe
a
and put it
small
back.
section
Okay.
of it to,
All right, that's
just so
fine.
we can do our repairs.
That's fine. I thought it
That's a
caved
good
in.
point. Yeah, it's a new.
Now,
broke
for
it off.
everything in the future, if we have to do this where it's not an emergency situation, if we have to remove a manhole and turn it into a standpipe, then we are gonna work with the homeowners that if they tied their seawall into the manhole,
Yeah,
we will work with them, they will pay for their seawall repair, we will pay for the
that
standpipe.
makes sense.
That's fine.
And we've done that, there's precedent for that. We've
sure.
done it.
Yes,
It's all
we've
good.
done it in the past.
All good.
And I hope that we're making each other's points, because
Yeah,
the
yeah.
less
Yes,
money that you
absolutely.
require from that fund by decisions you make, the homeowner do it, the less we have to pull from that fund.
Right, that
Yeah,
should make you
correct.
happy.
Right, yeah, and I hope I'm making you happy, Mr.
No,
Bishop.
you are, you are. I'm just asking the question because, you know, these things tend to set a precedent, and I'm very sensitive to that. We don't wanna get in the business of repairing people's seawalls.
Yes.
All right, that's,
To my
or
point.
selectively repairing.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm good.
All right, thank you very much.
No further discussion?
No.
Okay. I'll, make a motion, we approve budget amendment number 357.
All right, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
And budget amendment number 357 for manhole number 11 emergency repair and seawall is unanimously approved. And then we have item J, which was added in, and that is Duke Energy.
Yeah.
Hank, I'll
Yes, as difference from the other items we've covered this evening, this item was not covered at our work session. One, because we didn't have the information during the work session, it was sent after the fact for it. I had reminded Duke Energy that we've got a power purchase agreement that was, the clock was ticking and they hadn't done it, so they jumped on it. What I need some guidance from the town council this evening is which of the terms we're going to use moving forward with the power purchase agreement renewal that expires on the 31st of October. My recommendation, after discussing this with Duke Energy, is that we go with the 2-year term on it. As I said in my email to you earlier this week, looking at all 3 of these term levels, these term amounts, and the relative amount we would get for each one of them, our cost is about $50 per kilowatt hour, on no matter how you slice it, on a 2-year, 5-year, and 10-year term. In looking at this, what is gonna drive this is what is the regulatory environment going to look like in the future for Duke Energy and producing electricity? We don't know that, nobody will know that. The other aspect of it is that goes into these prices is Duke's cost avoidance for their own costs that they expend every year in producing their electricity, like natural gas and other things like it. So, I'm willing to bet that their cost into the future is not going to go down, it's going to go up. So my recommendation is to take the 2-year term and then come back at the end of 2 years, banking on the idea that their cost avoidance is going to be going up as the years go up, and that we do not want to lock into a 5-year or 10-year term with that information.
Yeah.
Good point, Tony, and I will even pile on. You're talking about cost avoidance, there's another factor, which are the energy credits. So I think as you move along and we start to push more towards green energy, the level of subsidy for energy credits on the other side of the equation is gonna go up as well.
That's
So those two dynamic, clearly, you were probably gonna be in better shape. And the good news is, our automation that we did on the dam allows us to flex to whatever new schedule comes out to accommodate Duke Energy when they maximize those credits. So I'm in agreement, and I propose, unless there's more discussion, any other questions?
I think it's a good idea.
2 years, perfect
Yep.
fit for us, yes.
I move that we put forward a additional 2-year contract on our existing Duke Energy contract.
All right, I'll let Duke Energy know that. They will go ahead and draft up the draft, and we will have this
Oh, we have
for
to
our,
prove it.
our work
Okay.
session and
Okay.
action meeting on the 25th.
So this is an amendment,
Yes.
this is just a consensus agreement?
We have to give them the term for the next power purchase agreement, so
Okay.
that's,
Okay.
that
So
will
we'll
be,
look at that on the 25th, I think.
yes, ma'am, that will be.
Okay, perfect. All right, there being no other new business, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Then we stand adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Oh, let's see it.
There's the goodies on the table, as always.